Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
I don't think it's fair or right what we've done to Billy and Stugotz here, where they are just finishing God Bless Football, and they're pinballing and careening in here. I just saw Billy rummaging around in his book bag trying to grab some of his breakfast pudding, but there's no time to put nourishment in your mouth. You've got to get to the next show. What's in that bag, Mike? I know, he just walked out.
I wouldn't touch that bag. That's a dangerous game.
What do you guys think is in that bag?
What is breakfast pudding?
Oh, I just imagine.
Oatmeal?
I imagine that Billy has a tapioca from an old folks' home.
Stovetop pudding?
Yeah.
Billy, what is in that book bag of yours? I was just saying how unfair it is to make you guys go straight from God Bless Football, which is, I don't think we do presses anymore, but if there were presses still, it would be hot off the presses in moment, because Billy and Stugotz get their football content out faster than everybody on Monday morning. What's in your book bag?
What's in my book bag?
Yeah, I said there was. I said
things.
Yes, but I said
Your
you were
life,
searching around for breakfast pudding. Is there anything strange in your book bag? Anything that we would identify as strange?
Well, I mean, it's all normal to me, so it's strange is relative, right? My laptop is in there. I have a notebook in there. Let's see.
Breakfast pudding.
I mean,
medicine?
Main compartment is, medicine, of course, should
Right.
something happen. I have an IFB here, which is weird. I use this on a plane, and I thought that they were going to think that I was, like, up to something nefarious because I forgot my headphones on my last flight. So that was odd. I have stress. Well, let me not put that out there because I don't know the sponsorship situation. It's all on the up and up. Oh, I have this. If you want this. So, do you guys remember that we spoke to Greg Cody, who told us about someone who was on the Greg Cody show with Greg Cody, who walked or scaled Mount Kilimanjaro, who was dealing with an ailment, multiple sclerosis, MS? I met that person, and he gave me a card with a QR code so I could go donate. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I still have that.
Did you?
Met him. No, Matt Pinelli, his name is, the guy who can. He goes by. So if you want, and you can see this, scan this code.
You can't see it. We're not on video.
Oh
yet.
yeah, that's right.
Right.
This is
Pre-show.
just a shadow.
Well,
He's
I'm
careening, Dan.
I'm trying to help multiple sclerosis. You guys are not, it would appear.
I think multiple sclerosis is a little higher than ailment. I think ailment doesn't. I don't think that's the correct way to
disease?
describe. Well,
As you mentioned, I was coming in here, and we somehow have a shortage of headphones, so I had to go get my headphones from the other studio after we already started because I took them over there so that Lucy's on God Bless Football today. Lucy could use them, so then I had to go back and get them. And then while I was doing that, I was being asked to rummage through my personal effects. So, I had to then scramble. My brain was a little scattered at the moment. And poor Matt Pinelli, we knew that, he scaled Mount Kilimanjaro, but I didn't remember exactly what disease he had. So I was trying to buy
So you
time while
made
I
it
was
an
reading
ailment, yeah.
I was trying to read the card.
Sure.
Also cancer.
Right.
Survived that.
So, Dan, you're saying that we're not giving MS enough credit by calling it an ailment, merely an ailment. It's like a cold.
I'm saying that Billy used the wrong phrasing while filibustering, that when he went from ailment to muscular sclerosis,
Right.
I got a little bit...
Multiple sclerosis, that's a fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Jeez.
A big one.
My bad.
You made it just one sclerosis.
Yes. You made
The
it an
muscular one.
ailment, though. You made it an ailment. It's more than an ailment.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I hear him chat from the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution.
Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the Wake up, let out the sheets. We came for one, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the
I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
My God, there was way too much in this weekend.
Cortez delivers. Freeman hits the ball to right field. She is gone! Gibby, meet Freddie. Game 1 of the World Series.
That feels like it was a month ago.
Form at the goal line. They bring 3. Daniels backing up. He's just going to have to let one fly. Goes to the right side. Steps away from the defenders. Gives himself some time. Now steps up, fires. Heads towards the end zone. It is...
Whoa! You talk about a ball goal! That's like a grand slam in the ninth inning of a World Series! Yes, go, baby!
The ball popped up into the air, right into the arms of Noah Brown! Jaden Daniels extended the play over and over and over!
Walk-off touchdown!
And not to ruin it, then there's the casual racism of the 1936 Nazi rallies at Madison Square Garden featuring Dr. Phil and Hulk Hogan.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Stugotz, I'm not a prude about these things. I don't actually mind a little bit of isms in my comedy, but it's got to be the premise, not the point. Like, it can't be racism as the only point. Make it clever. Make it funny. This guy was funny. Tony Hinchcliffe was funny at the Tom Brady roast, but that's lazy on top of being racist.
Make racism funny?
Yeah. I mean, it can be. It can be on occasion if it's clever. It can be.
Dave Chappelle actually did that, funny, during Chappelle Show's run. Obviously, with the trans stuff, I mean, that's a little bit different. But he made racism funny.
Speaking of funny, the Wade statue.
That was funny, and we'll get to that in a second. But Jessica just
Really?
wants to laugh at a bunch of teams this weekend because I don't know which is the one that you laugh at the most, Jessica.
I mean, the ending of the Bears game, starting with the Bears' decision to try to hand it off to an offensive lineman when they were down in the game, just really busting the playbook wide open in a must-win situation. The Jets was also pretty funny. I would posit the Dolphins game might have been up there as well. It was just a funny weekend for the haters.
I don't know which one is the funniest from among those three because I would say the Dolphins are slightly soothed by the fact that you can then laugh at the Jets, but the Jets have one sort of brain-scrambled quarterback. But in the middle of the Dolphin game, the thing that stood out to me is, really? We're cheering Tua because he can run 13 yards in the open field in a way that makes us all feel kind of scared and relieved when he slides? Like, does that feel safe for the second half of the season to treat him a bit like the equipment manager getting into the game in a high school basketball game because he's the coach's son?
It was a weird moment, probably an unnecessary moment. It's weird. I'm imagining and assuming that standing ovations will go away for a guy who just slit, right? Like, that will go away after this week. But it was interesting. Billy and I were discussing this during God Bless Football. It's just hard to watch Tua, and I think what's at play there, he wants to play. That's his decision. I'm not trying to tell him to do otherwise. If there is a next injury, I don't want to be there to see it. I don't want to see it. That's all. And so it is going to be
you
interesting.
say that's all, but it's
Dan, I'm torn watching him play football. I know he wants to. I know he loves it. I know how much it means to him. I am applying my own personal stuff to this. I don't want to be around the next time it happens.
It's a gross admission, right? Because I was telling Stugotz earlier, I was excited that Tua was coming back. The offense immediately looked like a different offense. The team looked like a team that we thought they could be. They ended up losing the game. And I like Tua. I want Tua to play. However, going up to it and at the beginning of the game and throughout the game, I was kind of wincing because I don't want to see it happen again.
I'm watching that, and I think I have this right when I said it. When I say it's about as close, Stugotz, as you're going to feel watching Make-A-Wish kids participate in professional sports. Like, I know it's an extreme example, but you're scared and with pity, and you're moved as well. It's also inspirational because you're like, oh, look, he's testing the limits.
I think that's a bad example. Like, I don't think it's like watching Make-A-Wish kids play. He
saying
belongs there. He's
I'm saying
a
the
good
feeling.
player.
I'm saying the feeling. I'm saying the feeling around it. I'm not saying. I'm saying where you're rooting for him, and you're also saying, "Aw," and you're inspired, and you're worried. It's a whole combination of things, and I'm not saying it's that. I'm saying it's about the closest thing in professional sports that you'll ever see to it when you're paying someone $50 million a year to quarterback your team.
You're breathing a sigh of relief, and you're giving him a standing ovation for merely sliding and because he didn't get hurt. Like, so I kind of understand.
It's both inspiration and pity.
Right.
All I'm asking him to do, all I'm begging him to do, is make a basic football play. Slide.
Yeah, all I'm asking him to do is win a Super Bowl. I don't think that's unreasonable. Like, come back and, you're going to pay $50 million. Win a Super Bowl. That's it. That's simple.
That
right?
you want to see.
That's all I'm asking.
Right, yeah.
Let's talk for a second about what Jessica was saying about the Jets, because Aaron Rodgers gave you the drive to give you the lead in Foxborough. You're a touchdown. Look at the smile on Jessica's face. You're a touchdown favorite at New England. Drake May gets hurt with another concussion that we won't talk about, and that brings in Brissett. And I don't know, how did you feel at that point, Stugotz? Were you happy to see Brissett, or were you scared of Brissett?
I was scared of the cagey vet. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah. And so I told you, I gave you that great stat. I think it was 4 games into the season where Kirk Cousins threw for 506 yards in a game, and the Patriots hadn't thrown for that much in 4 games, in all 4 of their games. That is a really limited Patriots team, and you get the drive from Aaron Rodgers that you want, Stugotz. It's the rare time where the Jets get to 22 points, and then all of a sudden your defense gives up very quickly a touchdown drives that feels like it ends the Jets season. It has Aaron Rodgers talking about being lonely in the darkness. And you've got Mike Greenberg also talking. You saw what happened with him on Twitter, right? He's melted down.
I did not see what happened to Greedy, no.
In a season filled with embarrassing performances, that was the worst. In a history filled with horrible seasons, this may be the worst. The Jets of 2024 are one of the truly colossal failures in recent sports memory, and it only gets worse from here.
They have the Texans in 3 days.
What a month for Davante Adams. He lost to the Steelers twice, and then lost to the Patriots.
The only thing that can give the Dolphin fan solace is the Jets fan, is the suffering of the Jets fan.
You know what, Dan? It's just they've lost 5 straight. They haven't won since they fired Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is now an offensive, and he's consulting the offense in Green Bay. It's such a slap in the face to the New York Jets, and such a great move by the Green Bay Packers. Aaron's not playing well. They haven't scored 30 points. It's not enough. And I blame it all on him. I don't care. It's not Saleh. It's not the defense. It is Aaron Rodgers. Don't tell me to embrace the darkness. I've been in the darkness for 40 years. You're supposed to lead me out of the darkness. This is the darkest it's ever been in 40 years because the expectations were so high for this football team, and they should have been. I don't want to hear Aaron Rodgers tell me, hey, embrace the darkness. We all got to embrace it. No, leave me out of the damn darkness. Sorry.
Can I? No, it was a good rant. That was solid. Can I go back a second to Saleh being like a sort of analyst assistant with the Packers? Because one of my favorite stories is the story about Brian Kelly that Rob Dombrowski wrote for ESPN when they were grad assistants at Central Michigan under Brian Kelly. I'm going to read this to you, Dan, because these guys are trauma bonded. It says, Green Bay, Wisconsin. On a winter night in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Matt LaFleur and Robert Saleh thought they were invited to a party at the home of their boss, Central Michigan University football coach Brian Kelly. Turns out they weren't on the guest list. They were on the worker list. We shoveled the snow and parked all the cars, Saleh said. Then at the end of the night, we had to go get the cars again. And then they went back to the tiny apartment they shared as grad assistants and stood around their kitchen table, one without any chairs. We decided that was when we were in that position, we were never going to treat people the way we got treated, Saleh said. just so like if they win the Super Bowl, I don't think the Packers will win the Super Bowl. I'll just start that. But I am rooting for it now because this would be such a hilarious story.
Do I have this wrong when I ask of the witching hour, which was great yesterday, that the only thing that actually had stakes in the witching hour, I'm going to have to look at it because the witching hour was fantastic, but Green Bay was the only good team in there, was it not? We had
the Ravens.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So
Jameis. Oh.
Justin Tucker.
The Jameis goes for 20 points. The Browns had not had 20 points in a game. He goes for 300 yards. Deshaun Watson had not had 300 yards in a game. That one is a bit baffling to me, in that you've got to make that move sooner, Stugotz, if you're watching these guys in practice every day, and Jameis is that clearly better than everything Deshaun Watson has been.
Well, think about the Browns. Their record has been good with anyone else at quarterback other than Deshaun Watson. They had Joe Flacco. He led them to the playoffs, and yesterday it was Jameis Winston. It's crazy.
Falcons also might have locked up the NFC South yesterday, Dan.
Oh, boy.
During the witching hour.
That division is never locked up. I mean,
no, but now
someone's going to win it because someone has to win it.
Yeah,
but no one locks it up.
Two wins over the Bucks. I mean, they're in the driver's seat, and we can't debate that.
I think it's also like it's notable that the Browns didn't choose this. They had to do this because Watson is out for the year now. Like he would have started this game had he not torn his Achilles. They would have just lost it.
What were your guys' thoughts on Myles Garrett showing up to the game, having done several hours of makeup clearly before the game so that he would look somewhat like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but not really?
Play with the makeup. Put a helmet on and play with the makeup.
That's something you don't do when you're 1-6, right?
I mean, he does it every year. Like Halloween's his
but
thing.
They're not normally that bad.
I'm not going to fault someone for being spooky, Dan. This was Halloween. I think a lot of people were caught off guard by this being Halloween because they thought Halloween was next weekend, but next weekend's November. This was Halloween. So this was his chance to show everyone how much he loves Halloween.
I feel like the rule for Halloween, if you go to the game like that, is no matter the outcome, you need to leave the game dressed exactly the same, right? Like, it worked out. They won. But had they lost, like, you need to go through all the makeup again and leave, like, a sad boy in the exact same outfit.
Did you guys think it was a lot of effort, but did you think that it looked like Schwarzenegger? Because I thought it looked slightly like Schwarzenegger if the grading curve is Dwayne Wade's statue looking like Dwayne Wade. Because Dwayne Wade's statue did not look like Dwayne Wade. This was yesterday, Stugotz. So during the Dolphin game, I felt bad for Tim Bowens yesterday.
Tim
Bowens is allowed finally into...
It's an odd day to feel bad for him.
Well, I'm about to tell you. He was allowed into the Dolphin Ring of Honor yesterday, and it's just sort of done at halftime. You've played a decade, okay? As a defensive tackle, giving your body to bad Dolphin teams, and then they honor you while everyone's at concessions. And there's some crappy halftime band playing. And meanwhile, at the same time, Dwayne Wade, there wasn't even a Heat game last night. It's just a celebration of Dwayne Wade outside of the arena that is an event all its own that's independent of the game so that we can celebrate Dwayne Wade. And then they release his statue, and Dwayne is very proud of it. And Dwayne says that he was involved in every detail of it. And I just can't believe it doesn't look anything like him. It looks like B.J. Penn. It does not look like Dwayne Wade. Who does it look more like? Does it look like Dwayne Wade or does it look like Bautista? I'm asking.
Batista?
It looks more like Dana White than it looks like Dwayne Wade.
Lawrence Fishburne trying to get Neo through
Lawrence
the Matrix.
Fishburne is excellent, Roy. I told you I'd take care of that Wade statue. I mean...
You did say over my dead body if he ever plays a play for Cleveland, and you did. You ruined the.
I did.
You ruined the guys. Come on, Lucy. Do you have any opinion on whether that looks like? First of all, that's Dwayne Wade, 30 pounds overweight. Like that's a heavy.
Jeez.
It's a heavy face. I know heavy faces.
I'm confused at like the actual how you like make a statue. Is it something that you chip down or is it something you build up?
Huh.
Well, it's bronze. If
Bronze.
it's marble, you chip it down. Bronze, I
Right.
think I don't know.
I think it's more.
You really
I think
petered
it's-
out there, Billy.
Yeah.
Good
Well, it's
effort
not
there.
chipping down,
All right,
right?
but Billy, you
I'd
got in
imagine
there.
heat is
Billy,
involved.
you got in there with
It's probably
such.
cast.
You got in there with such statue expertise.
I'm trying to help. No one else is helping her. What do you want me to do?
I was waiting for you to soar in the sky give us an
If you asked me how to
assortment.
make a sword, I can tell you. A statue, I haven't gotten to that show yet.
You were saying, Lucy?
Well, how do you make a sword?
Oh my gosh, what do you want to make it out of?
I don't know. What are my
Old
options?
car springs we could do. We just put it in the oven there. We melt it down. I actually went to a blacksmithing class I got on Groupon.
That
Very
is so
hot.
cool.
Very hot. Yeah, I felt lightheaded. Like I had a headache for hours after because of how hot it was and the smell. But it's fine. I have a little hook that I can hang my keys from. If you guys want to see it, I'll try to bring it in. Let me look for it. I'll bring it tomorrow.
Do you
worry.
guys think I'm being mean by pointing out that not since Ronaldo's statue, for years, we made fun of the Ronaldo statue because the Ronaldo statue, Stugotz, is the worst of these that I have seen, where it looked a bit deformed, the Ronaldo statue did. And
Yes.
this is not that. But I think the consensus, as soon as that's unveiled, is it also doesn't look like Dwayne Wade, right? There wasn't anyone but Dwayne saying that's beautiful, I love it.
And Jeremy.
Yeah, the media puppets were out yesterday saying, "Oh, up close. If you look at it in the right light, it looks just like him."
That was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. It's one of those things that apparently you have to get right up to see it. You know what? You don't have to worry about like pretty much any other statue ever. You don't have to say that.
Right.
Why have we gotten so much worse at making statues?
It's weird. We're not making statues like we used to. No,
Yeah.
I mean Michelangelos don't grow on trees.
Thank
We're
you.
not
We're making them like we used to.
I've seen good sports statues. I feel like that's why this one stands out, because this has been the first really bad one in a while. And I do feel actually really bad because I saw the artists were like speaking at a press conference after, and I felt bad, and Dwayne Wade really liked it, and the whole thing makes me deeply sad because it just doesn't look. It's not a bad statue. It's not like you could tell they're very skilled, but it just doesn't look like him at all.
It's a bad, ugly statue,
It
and
is,
they embarrassed
yeah.
the franchise.
Yes.
We talked about this. Like, it's kind of crazy because we had this discussion for years, right? When they announced they were going to do a statue, is what moment were they going to do? And we all guessed this was going to be the moment. And then we debated the jersey that he was going to be wearing in the moment, because the moment that they are capturing is he's not wearing the correct jersey. Nope. They just went with an old Miami Heat jersey.
He's not wearing the correct face.
Well, he was wearing an L Heat jersey when he did that, and we were discussing, are you really going to honor him with like an off jersey, like a Hispanic heritage jersey that they made just to sell? And they decided, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to make up the moment in our heads.
Guys, I'm looking at this, and I just realized I've been trying to figure out for about 12 hours. It haunted my sleep. What does this look like? What am I trying to place his face? And it is Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool after he's been tortured, where his face looks like the skin has been pulled off of it.
I closed my eyes during that
Seems
scene.
like none of us saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who have seen it, tell me that I am wrong, because
You're not wrong.
Wow.
It looks.
Now that I'm seeing it.
I was trying to think of bald and somewhat scarred and a little inflated from whatever it is that the last few hours had done to his face.
So is it true that the Heat front office was largely surprised by this because Wade had been really taking lead on this statue thing?
There's no way.
And so like the unveiling wasn't actually for Wade. Wade had been working with the artist the entire time. The unveiling was really for many of the Heat front office people in attendance, so they were surprised by this.
And disappointed.
You know what? If Mike were in charge of his own ceremony on this front, this would be a wonderful way for Dwayne Wade to punctuate laughing at the franchise at the end. If he was just, this is Mike's sense of humor of, watch this, guys. I'm going to put a statue outside of the arena that doesn't look anything like me, that looks like Antoine Walker.
I'm a little concerned, and I need to tread lightly here because sometimes I say things that I think are funny that I don't actually care about. Like, so I tweeted over the weekend about Freddie Freeman's Grand Slam, and I was like, guys, remember when he was pretending that they forced him to sign with the Dodgers because they were going back to Atlanta, and he didn't want to get booed, and now all of a sudden he's happy to be a Dodger, and we all just pretend that didn't happen. And I wanted the Dodgers to win the game. I thought it was a great moment. I just tweeted it out, not even thinking about it, and then people were like, typical Yankees fan, you're such an idiot, bro. And they were all coming after me, and I was like, whoa, guys, it was just a joke, right? So I'm treading very lightly with this Dwayne Wade statue.
Just say it,
because
Billy.
I don't look. I'm thankful for Dwayne Wade and everything he's done for the Heat over the years. However, people have said that I've been critical of Dwayne Wade for simply stating that he played for the Cavaliers and the Bulls, and they said I'm a hater.
I don't think those happened.
Well, okay, so Here's the thing, and I'm worried about the Heat, Dan, and this is coming from a place of worry, and I'd like to share with you guys because I feel like everyone else is not worried, but I'm worried. The Heat are in, and you guys are going to not like this, the Heat are getting close to, like, Marlins territory of celebrating the past, and I'm a little worried because I feel like the Heat, we're doing this a little bit too quickly. Like, we're doing the jersey retirements too close to each other. We're doing the Wade, we're doing the Bosh, then we're doing the Pat Riley Cord, and then we did the Dwayne Wade.
I heard they might do a Haslam statue, too.
Okay, well, okay, so that was my concern. Not that UD's going to get a statue. We've talked about that, and then people said I was disrespectful with that statue, which we don't need to relitigate. But here's what I'm worried about. I think after the street name and the statue, if we don't do a UD statue, we only have one move left, and that's retiring LeBron's jersey, which they're going to do, obviously, right? But we've done this so close together that, like, we're masking the not really winning very much situation, and we're running out of cards to continue the masking. Like, now we're going to have to start celebrating the 5-year anniversary of the unveiling of the statue and stuff like that. And, like, that's not what the culture is supposed to be about. We need to be spacing out these things more. Look, Dwayne Wade's young. What was the rush? We didn't need to do this right now.
Yep.
We could have waited another 5 years, and then you cover yourselves for, like, 5 years. If things don't work out with Jimmy or whatever, 5 years from now, boom. We have a statue. Forget about what's going on the court. But we're running out of those.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Rachel Nichols trying to get in here, but she can't get in here because Jeremy has taken up the entirety of the makeup room. He's turned it again into the spin room. I'm sure he doesn't like that you've ignored their win at Charlotte, a big win over the weekend at Charlotte. Don't know how it got buried by all the news items from the weekend. Let's go check in with Jeremy in the spin room. He's been in there for 10 minutes. Do you have a counterpoint to the Wade statue situation that we're mocking?
Yeah, Dan, oh, God. More sweat coming off the instructor today. It's really not great. But, you know, the details on the statue are really what matters, Dan. When you look at his parents' names being on each heel, you know, there's so much going on with the look of it. And if you look at the signature knee pads, the detail on the knee pads is really spectacular. I'm really blown away by what these incredible artists were able to accomplish with the same people who built the Jordan statue and the Kobe statue. You know, Dwayne Wade there is every part of this detail. You know, this guy knows what I'm talking about. It was really special to see, and you know, Dwayne was super excited about it. If they just turned his face a little bit to the left, you wouldn't have noticed how big the jawline was. But really, that's only the flaw, Dan. The only flaw.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate all your work from the spin room.
Mike is right about statues, though. Like, you don't have to – if you look at a statue, you need to know who it is automatically. When I look at the Rocky statue, I know who that is. I mean –
statue has one job. One job. I got to recognize you when I see it. It's your only job. Yeah. None of the other stuff matters. Like, I guess your second job is to stay together, not physically fall apart.
Yeah, I guess that's two jobs. I was thinking this morning because I read Jeremy's tweets yesterday. I was like, maybe I'll walk by the statue on my way into work because it's right across the street, right? Maybe I'll walk by and look at it up close in person, and maybe I'll change my mind. And then I thought about it again, and I was like, no. Yeah. Jeremy's just wrong. He's in the spin zone for a reason. He's just trying so hard to make it work, and it's just not, Dan, it's just not him. His jawline is enormous.
When I walk past the Statue of Liberty, there's no questioning who that person is. It's Lady Liberty.
How'd you end up on Liberty Island?
I'm just saying, when I walk past it, when I see it, you know, when I fly over it.
Who is the Statue of Liberty supposed to be?
Lady Liberty. I mean,
when I saw the Statue of Liberty
looks just like her
for the first time, I was thoroughly unimpressed.
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty small.
It's so small from far away. I got there, and I was like, I was a kid going to New York for the first time. I'm like, oh, my gosh, I've seen all these pictures. It's going to be great. And I'm looking. I'm like, that's it over there? That's a little ant. What is this?
Huh. Interesting.
Stugotz, Tango and Cash. Can you guys in video please find for me the villain in Tango and Cash, which is the...
Jack Palance?
No, not... Thank you. That's the best villain. The Tango and Cash villain famous for having the exaggerated jawline. It is the biggest jawline I have ever seen in the movies. I am pretty sure that person was only signed for that part because of his jawline. Does that look, Jessica, does that look like the Dwayne Wade statue? And can I send you out live to the Dwayne Wade statue across the street to get a investigative report. Mike has spent the whole morning investigating whether Freddie Freeman's teeth are real. He has spent the entire morning doing that.
Well, we know that they're fake and that they've been fake for quite some time. If you just look at a rookie picture to what his teeth look like now.
Right.
But I think that he recently upsized already existing veneers because that was crazy. It was insane. It was all I saw a walk-off grand slam hit by teeth. That's all I saw. Teeth rounding second. Teeth rounding
He was
third.
smiling a lot. That was an amazing baseball moment, Stugotz. And not just because you got to enjoy New York suffering, which is one of the great sports treats anyone can have.
Well, then everyone had a weekend.
Yeah,
I mean,
and just because you opened up a window for New York, Aaron Rodgers has gone 30 games without throwing for 300 yards in December of 2021.
Let's play for the people what Mike Francesa's analysis was, because this is how Jets fans are just generally feeling today.
The whole time they're coming down the field, you know if you score, you need a 2-point play. You're going to be up 5. And you get a delay of game.
That's substantive rage from a man at that age.
That's the Pope. I mean,
the other great thing for Jets haters was that the Jets no longer even have the best Hail Mary of the season because the Commanders' Hail Mary was so much more enjoyable and funny and fun to watch. And, I mean, if the Hail Mary for the Jets was kind of the highlight of the season, right, Stugotz? Halftime at the Bills game in primetime, and now you don't even have that.
Nope. We have nothing.
They had the rally. They had the late drive against the Titans to win the game early in the season.
How pathetic is that in
to make them 2-1.
I said it was the greatest quarterbacking game in New York Jets history.
Remember, you guys were all jacked up when you acquired Davante Adams. That was the high point of the season because you come off that loss and you're like, oh, what are we going to do? We got Davante. We're back.
Yeah.
Mike, were we right?
Yeah, we've been right.
I don't know how long I'm going to do this, but I'm guessing 2 days from now, like Wednesday, headed into Thursday, I'll talk myself into the Jets beating the Texans and salvaging the season. I can't stand them.
They do this to you. The stats on the Jaden Daniels Hail Mary were interesting. He scrambled a total of 40.7 yards.
Yep.
And the play took 13 seconds.
He held the ball for 13 seconds before he threw it. He creates his own time. It's like Lamar Jackson, you know? He can create time. He's the perfect guy to try to pull one of those plays off. I was shocked that they pulled it off, but what a great game. And I'm not certain Jaden Daniels, and I'm serious. You can talk about Jared Goff and some other guys. He might be the MVP.
We've done this a couple of different times with like 5 different MVPs. Another person who plays like that, it's a thrill to watch him play even when they're bad. Kyler Murray plays like that. It's just a thrill to watch a quarterback moving around like that. And Stugotz, I believe, we're right in the middle of what the crossroads look like between if running backs are disposable and we can just move them around and we need to find money under the salary cap, how about we find a quarterback who is also a running back and try to make what Lamar Jackson does or what Kyler Murray does? And that goes up against the Kirk Cousins model or the Jared Goff model, which I want to talk about because, Stugotz, the Detroit Lions yesterday had 35 points, and Jared Goff had thrown for 28 yards at the time.
Yeah.
They can beat you a lot of different ways,
Crazy.
the Lions can. Yesterday was with special teams. But I want to talk for a second about Man Campbell, a coach that we made fun of a long time down here. We mocked him. And something that he did that floored me and that is sort of, I believe, the opposite of what just about everyone in that league that preaches toughness but actually doesn't show toughness when it comes time to be criticized. I credited Sean McVay for a long time because of the real and substantive leadership confidence of being in your 30s, signing Jared Goff to a long-term deal and then moving off it in a year because you realized you could get better. That is not common. To believe something in your early 30s is the right thing to do and move off it that quickly. He traded Jared Goff, and none of us thought the Detroit Lions were doing anything smart by absorbing the contract of a quarterback that he discarded after watching him lose 13-3 to Brady in the Super Bowl. Right. We thought McVay was right, period. and that McVay knew what he was doing because a young man winning the championship thereafter with Stafford made it feel like Goff wasn't actually going to be a good quarterback at value.
Just to hammer home that point, they had a young quarterback fresh off a Super Bowl, and he didn't feel like it was enough to win a Super Bowl.
He moved off Jared Goff after giving him the big contract. He did not stubbornly stay with what he thought was a mistake when he could upgrade. And
Right.
no one can criticize then going to Stafford because it is and was an upgrade, and they won the Super Bowl. But what Campbell was doing was give me Stafford younger. Give me younger Stafford. And none of us saw that. None of us saw that Goff could be this if you surrounded him by that. And now we have, just like every week, we're having a different conversation about who's the MVP of the league. Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Jared Goff? Who else do you want? Because is it Jaden Daniels? Yeah. We've also been doing this one a lot. Who's the best team in the league? And you've got an undefeated Chiefs team, and you were making it the Ravens. They lose now at Cleveland. And now a whole lot of people today after yesterday, after seeing that the hottest duo in the league in Week 8 is Mason Rudolph to Calvin Ridley in the first half. As we're watching.
Calvin really had a game yesterday.
He did.
He had a
good
first
game.
quarter, had a game. But we're looking at the Detroit Lions after what they did to Dallas, the way that they can score 40 and 50 points and beat you, have 35 points when their quarterback has thrown for 29 yards. A lot of people are looking at the Lions as the best team in the league.
They're plus 100. So they're the best team in the NFL, not named the Kansas City Chiefs, who are undefeated. Last week it was Baltimore. This week it's Detroit. Next week it might be Buffalo. I have no idea. But
there are only 6 to choose from.
Yeah, but for right now, it is the Lions. I would say the Lions, you can make an argument the Lions are the best team in the NFL. Even with the Kansas City Chiefs involved in that discussion.
Well, you keep wanting to take it away from the Chiefs.
Well, that's you, not me.
No,
I mean,
you keep doing it. You did it with the Ravens. You did it. The Ravens lost to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are undefeated, and you keep wanting to take it away from the Chiefs. Every week, I don't come in here and do that. You do that.
Right. I mean, something's a little off, is it not? At 7-0, you're not convinced they're going to win the Super Bowl, are you? Oh, no. I mean, you asked me.
Stugotz minor penalty, 2 minutes for Chiefs talk.
That was entrapment.
Yeah.
But he has a point. The Raiders. You can't blow out the Raiders. I know they're a division rival, but they're the
Been
Raiders.
a tricky team for them.
That's true.
Recently,
I mean, they beat
especially
them
against the
last
spread.
year and the end of the season.
The Chiefs are bored, so bored that Patrick Mahomes was saying that he remembered. This was a revenge game for the Raiders in the offseason doing
Kermit the Frog.
a Kermit the
Yes,
Frog
Dan.
Muppets puppet. He said, I'll handle that situation when it needs to be handled, is what Mahomes said.
I don't want that dude threatening me. Also, you guys did the thing where you just looked at the top of the standings and you forgot that San Francisco's probably going to get healthy at the right time again.
Don't take a Dallas victory to mean very much.
I take any victory where they're able to survive those injuries as a good thing for San Francisco, who just needs to get into the tournament. And hopefully they can get the Offensive Player of the Year back and add some depth and health to their wide receiver position. But they're going to be there in that conversation, provided that they survive this. Meanwhile, on the other side of the token, why hasn't Mike McCarthy been fired yet?
A good question. What is this token? What is this token that you speak of?
It's the same thing as a coin. The flip side of the coin, flip side of the token.
When's the last time you saw a token at an arcade?
Oh, the ACC one with the guy where you could see his butthole.
It's all legal tender.
The Dallas Cowboys today are in disarray. If you're not going to fire him today, when are you going to fire him?
Well, I guarantee you someone's getting fired. It probably is going to be the dude that hosts the Jerry Jones show.
Who else could it be? It could be. It's either the only sacrificial lamb that will work for Cowboys fans today is McCarthy. Correct? McCarthy replaced by Belichick.
Or they can do the thing where they make a big splashy trade, I guess, and get people excited to wash off this loss. But it kind of felt like everything was falling down around McCarthy, and he needed that result, and he didn't get the result. It's not like things were going well for San Francisco. Both teams kind of needed that one. If Mike McCarthy can't win that one, which one is he going to win?
Are you guys with me on what happened to the Dolphins yesterday to make them fall to the bottom of the standings? The only soothing being that you can now laugh at the Jets too, but
They're still in second technically.
The Bills are what, 3.5 games up? They're 2-5 with the Bills. The Bills are 3.5 games up and go to Seattle and do something the Dolphins are not capable of doing. Something that the Dolphins couldn't do. The Dolphins are at home. My discomfort with the idea of Tua playing under these circumstances. This team's not good enough. You're not going to rally when you've lost the easy part of you're 2-5 in the easy part of your schedule. You've had home games. You're losing at home to you're beating Jacksonville barely at home, and you're losing to Arizona at home. You're losing to the Titans. You're losing to the Colts. You're not losing to the good teams in the league.
All of those are without your quarterback, though.
But you lost to the Bills with your quarterback at home, and you lost to Arizona yesterday with your quarterback.
That was on the defense, so that was bad. You had 2 receivers get over 100 yards receiving yesterday. Yesterday was a defensive loss. Do you disagree with that?
Well, if that's a defensive loss, then how is Stugotz blaming Aaron Rodgers for what happened to the Jets yesterday when the Jets allowed a drive all the way down the field at the end after Aaron Rodgers had given them the lead?
Because he got Rob Saleh fired. You see?
Yes.
So it's Aaron Rodgers'
You
fault.
don't get it.
Yeah.
He pushed Rob out the door, and now he has to watch him potentially have a victory parade at Lambeau.
Let's get some real expertise in here, some real sports expertise. Rachel Nichols has been covering Stugotz, the important things in sports, for a long time.
Yep.
It sounded like I almost forgot her name there, didn't it? It sounded
Yes,
like
it did.
Rachel Nichols.
Yep.
Well, that's because when you first met me, I was not Rachel Nichols.
That is correct. That is why that just happened.
That is my married name.
Yeah, it's 30 years ago.
To be Rachel Alexander.
Yes, when she worked down here in Fort Lauderdale, she covered the NFL for a long time, sideline reporting. She did college football at the Fort Lauderdale Sun-Sentinel, the NHL at the Washington Post, the Masters, 4 tennis Grand Slams, half a dozen Olympics, more than half a dozen World Series, and she was in the bleachers when Freddie Freeman hit this home run, and she got her own video. So, Rachel, put us there and tell us where this ranks in terms of energy that you have felt. This was one of the coolest things I've seen in baseball. It felt an awful lot like exactly what Kirk Gibson did as a huge underdog against the Oakland A's. What were you thinking, feeling, experiencing as this happened? And thank you for being with us, by the way.
Well, first of all, a lot of people ask me if I took this with a camcorder. My phone is fine, thank you. So I'm just saying. But yeah, no. So I love sitting in the bleachers at Dodger Stadium. I feel like you and I sit in so many like sterile press environments, and so the bleachers at Dodger Stadium. It's a great building. The fans are awesome, and it's a lot of fun to be out there. The problem is that you have to use your phone to get this view. Because you're far enough away. So I always have my phone out if I really want to see what's going on at the plate. And then once it happens, of course, it is an absolute madhouse there. And you see at the end of this video why I like being in the bleachers so much. I mean, look at these people. Would you not want to hang out with these people? You want to hang out with those people.
Yeah, it's a little different than the antiseptic press environment. Raise your microphone just a little bit there.
Well, actually, I have another technical question for you. They gave me these headphones, and they did not plug them into anything.
That's a good question. That's the Metal Arc. That's the Metal Arc way there.
Well, hold on, Dan. I got it.
Are they Bluetooth, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not certain. I'm not certain how we do that. I've been thinking about the Dodgers and the Yankees series. What a terrible job by Aaron Boone. You cannot put Nestor Cortez in that spot when he hasn't pitched since September. Yeah, against Freddie Freeman, an MVP, you can't do it.
Every Yankees fan, and by the way, my husband's a Yankees fan, so he and I went to this game. I'm in all my Dodgers gear.
Right.
He's in all his Yankees gear. The other people in the bleachers not so excited to see him, but he was a good foreign fan, quote unquote.
Right.
But yeah, no, there was a lot of look at that.
That's
now
the piece.
That's an
you need.
adapter.
That's just excellent work by
I love
you.
this.
That is just excellent work.
No, it's great. It's
People
great.
who are only listening are just like, what the hell is
But
going
why
on
can't you
here?
put Torres in that situation?
You
He's
don't
great
do
for
it.
them. He's a starter. He's left-handed.
He hasn't pitched
in so long.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Since
Right.
September. I
But
mean.
the mood of the game there at that point, you have to remember the Yankees had been ahead by a little bit, but off and on for much of the game. They were ahead there. It was the top of the 10th. They scored runs. It felt like if you were in the stadium, it felt like, man, I can't believe we're going to lose game one in our own building like this. And so I think some of the explosion of emotion you saw was, of course, it's the first Grand Slam walk-off in World Series history, but it was also the tension that had built up. I have to say, I've been to a ton of World Series, as you mentioned. I've been to all kinds of championships and other sports. It was one of the best of that level of games I have ever been in any building for, and that's really fun.
One of the quiet things about what is happening with Freddie Freeman, he described this earlier in the playoffs, Stugotz. He's heavily medicated because if this were the regular season, he would not be playing, probably.
Right. Yes.
He's injured. And among the prop bets before the game, I was looking for a long shot because Freddie Freeman's one of the few hitters in baseball that I never expect him to make an out because he's just such a good hitter. I took Freddie Freeman at good odds to hit a double in the game because I didn't like the odds on triple and grand slam, which he also had in the game. Right? A triple, get out of here. A triple to me felt more unlikely than a grand slam. He can't run. Like he's hurt. He wouldn't
but
be.
he has the good drugs, Dan.
Yeah,
No, but a triple normally requires some sprinting. You're right about that. A home run is just a trot. I mean,
I thought that game was magical, and
It was so great.
I thought something else that happened this weekend that got buried by everything is the oldest player in the league, LeBron James, against Sacramento, not only going for a triple-double, but getting so hot, and I just can't believe he's doing any of this at this age. I really can't. But getting so hot that he does this, that he's made 10 in a row, or he feels like he's made 10 in a row, and he can't believe that a teammate is out there taking a contested two-pointer instead of just feeding him the ball.
Yeah. Swing, swing. He scored 16 points in 3 minutes. I mean, that's just insane. And he's 100.
What is
Right,
that?
yeah.
He scored 16
That's
points
nuts.
in 3 minutes. What is anybody on that team doing not passing the ball to him?
Exactly. Although, he comes out after the game and he's like, oh, no. It wasn't me. It's a team game. It's the Lakers. So he made a big deal about the fact that, we're a team and all this stuff, which is funny coming after that overheard over there.
We were making fun of the statue while you were walking in.
Oh.
I don't know if you saw this. You're in town because very few people have a better relationship in the media that you do with Dwayne Wade. You have covered his story from start to finish, and he is genuinely, beyond sports heroic.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff he stands for
100%.
is heroic and makes him as beloved an athlete as South Florida has ever had, right up there or above Marino, and those are the two at the top of the list. Alonzo Mourning and all the others have to go into a second tier because those two guys are the most important in South Florida history. The statue has teeth. I did not.
It has a lot of teeth.
It has
a lot of teeth, actually.
And
Freddie Freeman's teeth.
I was going to
actually.
say, that's exactly what I was going to say.
How do you feel about the how it looks here? Does it look to you like Dwayne Wade?
I mean, look, I think it looks clearly how Dwayne Wade sees himself. That's how I could. That's what
That's
I
a
can
good
say
answer.
about
Oh,
him.
shit.
That's a
Well,
good
no,
answer.
that's not a dig.
Yes.
It's that because he had the most input on this, and in the end, it's for him. So he said he visited the statue maker 4 different times. He said that one of the visits, he told me, he said, oh, yeah. He's like, they didn't get the distance between the bottom of my nose and my lip correctly. The ratio was off. So I had to measure in between the bottom of my nose and the lips so they could get that exactly right. So if he's doing that level of detail, it tells me that the rest of it, he was like, oh, yeah, this is it. So if this is what he wants and how he sees himself, I'm going to have
Jessica
to
has
go
been
with him.
swayed. Jessica, I can see on her face that Jessica has been swayed both by the spin room did not help her do it,
No.
but you and seeing it up close made her feel like it looks more like him now.
I mean, first of all, if Dwayne Wade is happy with it, I'm happy with it because who am I to judge? If this is how he wanted to be depicted forever, then good. But I'm not going to lie, and I'm not just saying this. I'm not just saying this, Dan. The more I stare at it, the more I am starting to kind of see it. If you just give it a glance, it's not him. But if you stare at it for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, it's just starting to look more like him.
This angle that you guys are showing up right now, the head on, straight on, that no one's tall enough to see angle, looks much more like him. It's when you're standing below it, which we all are because none of us are 13 feet tall, you just see the jaw, right? That's all you see. So I think that's part of it too. But Jess, thank you for the backup. Appreciate that. I actually brought a little experiment in here.
Wow.
So that you guys could see how hard it is to make someone out of bronze.
Okay.
So I don't know if you are familiar with this photo.
Yes, one of the classics.
Who are those
One of
guys?
the-
Put it on the
Exactly.
poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Does
Younger.
Dwayne Wade get to decide whether Dwayne Wade's statue looks like
Looks
Dwayne
like
Wade?
Dwayne Wade?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so this is y'all, right?
Yeah, that
And
used to
then
be me. Yeah.
I fed this into because we're all AI now, right? So I fed this into ChatGPT, and I was like, "Can you please make a bronze statue out of this?" So I don't know if we can go back to it, but here's what ChatGPT came up with.
That doesn't look anything like us.
So
I mean,
much better.
the hat.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
They
that
got Stugotz's shirt,
No.
right?
This is why we need to fund the arts.
Is that Will?
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Facing
they-
the same direction also as the other picture.
Look how tall you got. Look how tall you got. All
Yeah.
right. So then I was like, well, that's not quite right? So let's try again, right? So then I was like, okay, do a second one. Whoop, there we go.
There
Okay,
it is.
that's
And
us in the
then-
1920s. Yes.
like
There you
that.
go.
Yeah.
Again,
Yinzers.
you've grown.
Yep.
And then I was like, all right, this isn't working. So I'm going to try Photoshop. What can Photoshop do? And that's what you guys got.
Yes, that's
in
not great either.
Photoshop.
see it there. I see the
and I
resemblance.
want to show you your face here, Dan. There.
Good.
So-
Grisly, haunting. Yes,
So-
a shade of demonic.
Right. So if this was your statue, what would people be saying about your face?
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. It would be fiery depths of hell type stuff. Speaking of Stugotz, you said you used to look like that. I don't know whether you saw some of the commentary as you released your Stugotz picks for the weekend.
No, I didn't. I know I'm on fire. That's what I know. And you're all welcome. I mean,
woof. He's never looked worse. Does Meadowlark have health care or what? He's got 5 years left at best.
Oh, thanks. I'll take it.
Can someone please set Stugotz up with a different camera and lighting that doesn't make him look like a bridge troll gremlin?
Wow.
Did that from home. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, seriously.
Appreciate it.
Dwayne Wade's statue's looking pretty good compared to that commentary.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the internet was making some good fun of Dwayne Wade's stature. I think, don't you agree, Stugotz, that Rachel and Jeremy are the only two people defending this today?
Yeah, it's an odd thing to defend. It looks nothing like him.
No,
I mean,
I'm not defending the statue. I'm just saying that Dwayne likes the statue. And so, as Jess notes, there's a point where I have to say, it's his statue. He had a huge hand in it. In fact, he had the biggest hand in it of anyone. So at some point, who am I to say, oh, that's not good enough for you?
But there is a moment before every statue unveiling where you imagine like the worst case scenario.
Oh, yeah.
And I imagine everyone at the statue unveiling was thinking, "Ooh, what if this is terrible?" And then you see it and you're like,
Yeah, polite golf applause is what you get. Did you have any thoughts on? And I'm going to get serious here for a second.
Yep.
I don't know. I've been wanting to talk about this since the weekend. I understand, Stugotz, that the newspaper endorsement is not something that matters anymore in the modern age. Nobody cares anymore, it would appear, about journalism and its need to call truth to power. But at the LA Times and the Washington Post, there have been two things that have been deeply unseemly, where we've always separated the money from editorial, and now editors are resigning because the rich people at the very top of the newspaper chain, the people who own the LA Times, and Bezos, who has all the FU money in the world and is still scared of Trump, all the FU money in the world, and they never say FU. Now you've got the fairly unprecedented in the modern age situation where the LA Times and the Washington Post are not putting out endorsements because they've got billionaire owners who are handling the truth for what are supposed to be objective newspapers who give you these endorsements based on a vetting of the facts. They're not just sloppy endorsements because your paper has liberal politics. It's supposed to be a vetting of the facts. At a time that it's more obvious than ever that it is time to choose sides, the rich people with the FU money are strangling their editorial departments and making their editors resign because there's not a separation of the money and the content as there has been in our 30 years in this business.
Yep. But to me, it's even less about this particular endorsement in either of these cases because, as you point out, honestly, if they had just endorsed the way they normally do, no one would have paid attention. So there's something to be said of how much does it really matter. What it's really about to me is you have a presidential candidate who is openly threatening to go after the people and institutions who, in a democratic process, decided, of these two candidates and if what is supposed to be a free and open election, if you support the other one and I get elected, I will come after you. And there's precedent for this when he was president last time, that there were businesses, media organizations he didn't like, and he sort of made things more difficult. I know there was an incident with CNN where he was trying to do something to Time Warner and all of that stuff. So I think that what this speaks to is less about an endorsement or not an endorsement. It's about, hey, this looming idea of the country is going to change drastically, and I don't mean the flavor or mood of the country, I mean what we have built this country on. He is specifically saying, I would like to change this drastically, and people can decide if they want that or not, but for those of us who like a free press, who like the Bill of Rights, who like the Constitution, and we say, we are already seeing before the election even happens, we are already seeing this start to go away, that is terrifying. And it's not even political over which candidate you like. If you like this country, if you like the United States, and you like the fact that we have freedom of speech, and you like the fact that we have free elections, and you like the fact that you can print or put out a newspaper that says anything pretty much you want, that is already going away before the election even happens, that is a harbinger of something much bigger and scarier, and I think that's why it struck a chord with so many people. You and I care about the journalism. We have to be honest. Most people could give a crap about the journalism, but they do care about the fact, and this has touched such a chord with so many people, because it is about, is this country going to fundamentally change? Is democracy going to fundamentally start to go away in this country in a way that we just haven't seen in, 200-something years?
I do think Washington Post subscribers do really care about it, or else they wouldn't be spending their money on the subscription. And there has been a huge backlash from a lot of people, either canceling subscriptions, from employees of the Post who are like really upset about this decision, and from people like writing letters to the editor and just like voicing their disdain for what is obviously a unconscionable choice this close to the election. So while like maybe the vast majority of people are like, yeah, this doesn't affect me. Like, why would a newspaper choose a candidate anyways? I don't really understand why this happens. I do think among the people that do care, this is like a huge betrayal of trust. And so I don't know how they're like, as a company, as a brand, as like a trusted institution, I don't know how you sort of recover from that.
Well, I think, again, that's symbolic, though, of a bigger thing, right? I think that even the subscribers to the Washington Post who are canceling their subscriptions, I don't know how many of them would have actually leafed to page 3 and read that editorial. I think it's more about, what does the Washington Post stand for? I worked at the Washington Post for almost 10 years, and one of the things that you are most proud of when you walked in the door is, this is an organization that speaks truth to power, right? This is the organization, this is a newspaper that brought down Nixon with Watergate. This is the newspaper that published the Pentagon Papers when the government was threatening, we will shut you down if you publish classified information, and of course sued them and all of that stuff. And the idea that this organization would crumble in the face of something that really feels he's not even president at the moment.
Benign. Like, this is cowardice of the highest order, that you would have Bezos money and you would run scared from Trump when you own the Washington Post, and all you're doing is the most basic of journalism. It's not even the hard journalism.
No.
Like, that's not what the Washington Post is built on. An endorsement is nothing. It's like, it's the flimsiest thing your newspaper can do.
Yeah, but journalism can be bought, and Bezos owns that newspaper, and Bezos wants out there what he wants out there. And so I know it hurts you guys, because journalism has been dying a slow death and continues to die.
Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's just the reality that we're in. But he bought the Washington Post, and I don't agree with it, but he wants to put out the message he wants to put out there.
Understood, but he had stayed out of these things, and now he's not staying out of these things, reportedly. I want to read something to you from Caroline Kitchener, who works for the Washington Post.
It's so funny. I was just going to bring this up, so please read it, Deborah.
So she says, my mom just told me she canceled her subscription to the Washington Post. She reads every one of my stories. It was a heartbreaking call. I understand why she did it, but I asked her to reconsider. To anyone who has canceled or is thinking about canceling, here's what I said. Post reporters had no part in this decision, but when you cancel, you're hurting us, not our owner. I feel lucky to work at a place that doesn't tell when I need. I'm sorry that I've got this here wrong in the wrong place. I feel lucky to work at a place that doesn't blink when I say I need to fly to Texas to meet a woman whose life has been changed by an abortion ban, to document the impacts of Dobbs up close. I can only do that if we have subscribers who support us. Reporters in the Post newsroom will continue to do our jobs. We will report fearlessly on whoever becomes president, and so many other things that really matter, because we are independent and care deeply about holding the powerful to account. I completely understand if you've lost faith in our owner, but please don't lose faith in us. It's just a weird time for Bezos to make his only appearance as someone who's power brokering here.
And I just think that that's such an important message from the reporter. And I've heard that from my reporter friends at the LA Times and now at the Washington Post. It's like, wait. You're hurting the wrong people, especially with Bezos, especially with the Washington Post. Are you brave enough to cancel your Prime subscription? Because that's where you're going to hurt him. Is your Amazon use going to go down? Is your Prime subscription going away?
Thursday Night Football.
No, well, but all of that, right? And so if you really want to put your money where your mouth is.
Jets and Texans coming up on Thursday.
You might be better off not watching that game, actually. You might want to cancel. Say it's in protest of this decision, but
by the time
actually
Thursday
do it to
comes
protect
around,
yourself.
I will have talked myself into the Jets can still win the AFC
Oh,
East.
my Lord.
I will.
But, right, so that's actually, if you really want to hurt Jeff Bezos, that's the choice that actually would affect his bottom line. Don't hurt the reporters.
It's heartbreaking to see, and I think it's a good time to celebrate and give proper attention to the billionaires that aren't afraid of endorsing a political candidate. Take Rupert Murdoch, for example. There is a courageous billionaire right there that is not afraid to use his media entities to make a point.
What were the highlights from last night, Rachel, and the Dwayne Wade ceremony, beyond everyone making fun of the statue?
Your left turns are one of my favorite things about
Well,
listening
Jessica
to the
wanted
show.
to get in here with something related to this conversation, and I cut her off.
Did someone say left turns? Did anyone watch what Tyler Reddick did on the final lap?
Oh, my God,
Blaney
amazing.
left the top open, and Tyler Reddick, who at one point led this race by 23 seconds, all of a sudden had to climb back into it after an ill-timed pit. And then he makes Homestead his home yet again. 23XI into the Final Four.
You know what? Never mind. Go ahead, Rachel. Tell us about the statue unveiling.
It was a lovely moment. Obviously, look, as you point out, Dwayne is so beloved here. And the energy in front of the building with all the fans who came by was so cool to see. And the idea that, as he put it, he went when he was in Chicago growing up, that, he's like, we didn't have the internet, right? So I didn't know that statue of Jordan
Pre-internet
was down there. He said, and the first time I got to go to the arena and saw that there was a statue of my hero, Michael Jordan, I couldn't believe it. He told me, he's like, I thought statues were only for sort of old Greek people and presidents. He's like, I didn't know they made statues for athletes. So to see something I did, basketball, could result in a statue of you, he said, was such an eye-opening moment. And the idea that some kid could come up and see his statue and feel that way and sort of imagine what is possible, I think that stuff has incredible power.
As someone who has covered him since the beginning, you know just how improbable the odds are of someone who has shared the most vulnerable parts of his story with us. There is no amount of odds that can be overcome in sports larger than Dwayne Wade coming from what he came from to statue outside of the arena, given that his childhood is filled with no maps. It's got a lot of crud in it that is hard to get out of.
Yeah, and just any one of those things that we've talked about him could have felled him, right? I mean, we've seen athletes taken down by all kinds of not only sort of environments and, he grew up around guns or he grew up around the wrong people and he's got them around him now, to just the mental toll it takes on you to figure out how to get out of that situation. Ron Artest said something to me once. We were doing a story on him, and I was living in New York, and we were talking about where he grew up in Queensbridge, and he's like, oh, yeah, when I was a little kid, we used to duck at the gunshots across the projects. But, by the time you're 10 or 11, you just kind of stop ducking because, you're bigger and you can't hit the ground that much anymore. And so he goes, you just kind of go through from 10 to 18, hoping that as you walk through and you hear gunshots, one of them doesn't hit you. If you grow up like that, you cannot imagine what it is like to grow up any other way. And those of us who didn't can't really fully picture that. And the fact that Ron Artest struggled with his mental health throughout of his career is in some part, and he has talked about this extensively, that he learned from therapy. In some part, it's because of what he grew up with. Dwayne was able to manage all of that stuff, and that is remarkable. And frankly, as much worth the statue to me as what he did on the court.
So why did PJ Tucker get one?
I mean, the shoes. The shoes.
I've seen Keith Bogans, Antoine Walker, and PJ Tucker all resemble the statue more than the person you were just waxing poetic about.
It does mean something, though, Rachel. You're here because you're celebrating an epic career from start to finish, one that does heroic work after playing as well. Like you're flying across the country because...
Yes. Look, the way he has been a dad is something that obviously has been the biggest part of his post-playing career. He wrote a book on it. He's gone on the Today Show about it. It's twofold. Obviously, we talk a lot about Zaya, the support he's given her, the example he has been to so many other dads and parents of how do you go through this, how you can be proud of your daughter in these kinds of moments, which I think there wasn't really an example of. So I think that has been tremendous. But just as a dad, and this entire generation of NBA players sort of decided, and it was Chris Paul, and it was Dwayne, and it was LeBron, and it was Melo, we want to be different public dads than the generation before us in basketball. And remember what we heard about those guys all the time. It was, oh, he's got 16 kids by 13 women, or oh, can he even name all his children, or all of that stuff. They came out and said, no, here's my son at the press conference. I am a dad. See me as a father. And that sort of redefinition of black fatherhood was an actual talking point for them. It was something they discussed and wanted to put out there during their playing careers. And I think that is amazing that they really showed a generation, no, you can put this forward. You don't have to be ashamed of this. This is something that you should not only strive for, but that you should put right up front. And I think all of that stuff is what makes people so drawn to him, and why, for me, covering him throughout his entire career, literally from the day he was, stepped on an NBA court, and really before that at Marquette to now, it's just been fascinating to watch. Most guys don't have that kind of impact in any sense.
The odds are totally against everything that we just witnessed here, and Dwayne Wade seems hell-bent on having a bigger, more impactful post-career than he did basketball career.
I would say that you will see him more on national television than you ever have before coming up in the next few years, because there's a lot of these new NBA broadcast partners bidding for his services. And so if he decides to, I think you will see even more Dwayne Wade in a lot more areas.
He seems to want to get good at that stuff, and if he wants to get good at something, we've seen the will that gets applied to that. Like it doesn't seem to
get making statues.
Yeah, to make it. We were all like tripping over each other. Should have applied it to statue making.
Los Angeles sports teams, Stugotz, are undefeated since Thursday. The Rams over the Vikings, the Kings over the Sharks, the Dodgers over the Yankees twice, Lakers over the Suns, USC over Rutgers, Lakers over the Kings, Clippers over the Nuggets, Kings over Utah, Galaxy over Rapids, USC over Gonzaga, Chargers over Saints, Clippers over Warriors, and LAFC over Whitecaps. That's an entire weekend of winning, and Rachel Nichols works in Los Angeles, and the thing that I wanted to ask her about...
You went Sacramento, so you said all of California, I'm guessing, did not lose this weekend.
Okay,
That's
my
Northern
bad.
California.
All of Los Angeles is what I meant. Thank you for the correction.
Important one. Yeah.
JJ Redick, how is that going as the coach of the Lakers?
It's actually on the court. It's going great. And JJ, of course, is like got 10 years of ideas. It's sort of like a guy with his first novel or first movie. You can see all the 10 years sort of building up in the beginning of this season. The players love him and have really responded to him. So that's all great. We see the little things that he's still learning how to be a coach. And that stuff will obviously fix itself. But just like little funny things. So after the first game, he's complaining about the basketballs. He's like, I'm going to write into the NBA tomorrow. I'm going to tell them we can't be playing with new basketballs. Anyone who's been a shooter, you have to have worn-in basketballs. And people sort of laughed, and he goes, I'm not joking. You guys know me. I'm not joking. Like, this is a problem, and I'm kind of, neurotic about this stuff. And then someone clearly had to explain to him that the team provides the basketballs. So someone in his own organization was the one who was like, oh, it's a new season. Here's some new basketballs. So he comes out the next day and he's like, oh, I was just joking around. And I'm like, but you said you weren't joking. But that's the kind of thing where, even his first press conference, he curses during his first press conference for emphasis. And then someone has to tell him, you're on the local radio and TV with the children listening at 3:00 in the afternoon. We can't do that. So just little things. There was a story yesterday about how he's watching game film at a car wash. He was at a car wash around the LA area. Baron Davis, who also lives right around there, saw him at the car wash and saw him watching his laptop and game film. And I think part of that is, the story is told, he's so dedicated, Dan. He's watching film at the car wash. And that is true. However, also it is learning that as an NBA coach, you can't spend 3 days getting ready for a game that happens that night. It all comes at you kind of fast. So I think he's learning all that stuff. Apparently, if you at your car wash want to start looking at game film of how things could improve with the headphone situation here, then maybe that could
was
be
embarrassing.
Good.
On my hands and knees next to you trying to figure out how to work the headphones.
Are you surprised that JJ goes to the car wash? Because for me, he comes off as a guy that has the car wash come to him, Right.
Maybe he's out of the house too early. I don't know.
It's a good point, though. Stugotz at Le Batard Show, Juju put it on the poll. Does JJ Redick look like somebody who goes to the car wash or has the car wash come to him? What do you make of Stephen A. Smith calling Kawhi Leonard the worst superstar in the history of sports when you juxtapose that against Kawhi's trainer last week suing the organization for, if not malpractice, malfeasance?
Yeah, look, it's Kawhi is a mystery wrapped. What's the mystery wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a whatever?
Something like that.
I don't know what's going on with him.
Cannoli, yes.
Cannoli, exactly.
Nailed it.
I don't know what's going on with him. Do you know what's going on with him?
I don't, but I find interesting the appraisal that takes him out as if he doesn't care when I don't think that's what's going on with him.
Think he doesn't care.
But I think if you say that someone is load management, if he's ground zero of load management and he's ground zero of players don't care that much, I believe hitting him with that person is careless is probably an appraisal I'm willing to reject.
Nobody who has spent this many years trying to get back from various injuries doesn't care, because guess what? He has all the money. So if he didn't care, he would have a perfect out to say, you know what? My body's just too broken. I've been trying for years. I'm out. I'm going to go, play with my toy trains or whatever it is that he spends his money on. But instead, he keeps doing this. So look, you can think a lot of things about how he manages his body, but doesn't care, to me, is not really on the table. The thing with Kawhi Leonard you have to remember is he load managed his way to an NBA title. And I don't just mean during that season with the Raptors where he did sort of this, I'm not going to play in this game, I'm not going to play in that game. During the NBA Finals, during games, he would load manage the games. So for 3 quarters, he would just be sort of on the court doing some things, and then in the fourth quarter, he would play. So if you're a guy who has managed to get it down to that much of a science that you can load manage minutes within a game, of course you're going to be doing this during the season. And I think he's just doing it all to extend his career so he can play as opposed to the opposite.
Can you give us some insight into how the Jimmy Butler story is going to end in Miami?
No, I mean, I am very eager, along with the rest of Heat Nation and everyone else, to see how both sides play this out this year, right? Because I thought it was smart of the organization not to extend him. I think that he has to decide if he's all in with this team or not. If he is, I have a feeling, and you've watched this team much more up close than I have, that they're going to figure out a way to work it out. Or if by the middle of the season it's just not working anymore, then maybe they decide, okay, let's trade him and see who's interested. He's 35 years old. And he's never been a three-point shooter in the way that the NBA is going right now. And you have to sort of take stock and say, okay, do we want him here because of the heart and soul that he gives to the team, and therefore it's worth us paying him, but not as much as he wants? Or do we say, okay, it's time for a new era in the Heat?
Why are the Celtics so disrespected? A team that won a championship did so in pretty dominating fashion, and yet no one takes them seriously. It's weird.
Yeah, I find this completely bonkers. I mean, look at how many times this team has been in the NBA Finals just in the last 5 years. Look at what these guys have accomplished. They're still so young, right? It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Do you think it's just anti-Boston hate? Mike, do you hate Boston?
Me? No. Don't know where you would get that from. Circling back to a franchise that has won more championships in my lifetime, the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Historically, for Jimmy Butler, when he breaks up with a place, it usually ends ugly.
Yeah.
Do you think he's at a different place in his life now where this could at least be a little bit, less like the previous stops, or will this be headed to Ugly Town? I know that he didn't speak to the media one day already. He showed up late to media day.
Right.
This seems like it could head in that direction.
It could, for sure. Look, Minnesota was ugly, right? I think Chicago was more just they didn't want him anymore. I mean, that was crazy to me about Chicago. They were like, we want to see what we can get for him, and it was because we don't want to pay him. And then it was like, oh wait, you're drafting to hope you can maybe get a Jimmy Butler, and then of course they never have. It could get ugly because obviously nobody likes it when someone says, actually, we don't love you as much as you thought we did. I mean, that's kind of what the Heat did to him, right?
And told him to shut up.
Right. They were like, oh, no, you don't get flowers and chocolates from us. Sorry, we don't like you that much. Like that kind of thing. So I don't know. Stugotz, what was your worst rejection by a girl?
Oh, wow. Janelle Giagu back in high school. It was a tough one.
We still haven't forgiven her.
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough. Yeah.
In his
so that's,
first game as a...
Thank you for bringing it up, though. I appreciate it.
I'm just saying that's sort of what's
it's the
going on
first week
now.
Since then, I haven't thought about it.
And
Here we are.
we'll have
You
to
thought
say-
you were just beginning to heal, and you just reopened that wound.
You're welcome. You're welcome, America. Thank you very much. And by the way, I want to say one more thing. I know how frustrating it is to be the fan of the team that has Kawhi Leonard. I'm not making an excuse for that and that experience. I'm just saying I don't think you can say he doesn't care.
I just assume that his body has betrayed him, and it must be very frustrating in that sport to have your body betray you. But I want to know what your analysis is of Klay Thompson gets to the Mavs, immediately sets a record for threes in a game with 6 of them as a Mav, and then Buddy Hield with the Warriors sets a record with the Warriors, making 12 threes in 2 games. Your thoughts in
That's
general?
too many, Dan. It's too many threes.
I mean, he's just gaudy at that point.
It's just too
It's
many.
kind of tacky.
It means
right?
you're shooting a lot of them.
Right.
And I saw Nick Wright kind of pick up on this. We've been talking about this, that there needs to be an evolution. Even baseball got around to, we have to change the rules because we're losing folks.
So what do you want a 4-point line? What do you want?
I think we should make the courts a little bit bigger. I think that might just naturally change some things, but I think that the NBA...
Do you understand how an arena is built?
Yeah, with the courtside seats. I understand.
Okay,
They can maybe reconfigure.
But the three has become too easy. That's your point?
Yeah. No, I think that the athletes have outgrown the courts. I think it's kind of absurd that we're playing so on the court.
I think that's true in hockey. Actually, no lie. I do think that ice rink has to get bigger.
It's in all of the sports. Football, too.
What if you take out some of the middle of the court and add it on the outsides?
Yeah, smart.
Yeah. Look, they
Smart.
need to come up with how they're going to replace this by making a bigger court. Like that's their job.
He's like, I don't have an engineering degree, people.
What if you make
I'm
threes?
just proposing something ridiculous.
What if you make threes worth 2 and you make 2s worth 3? Huh?
What
mid-range jumpers?
What's
No,
the
the
math?
art, the
What's
art
the
of playing in the
math
paint.
then?
I mean, the low
I know where
post
this
game.
segment's going to go, and it's just going to be us putting pawns in the middle of a
No.
court.
What if you do like an LED strip on the 3-point line, and
Ooh.
at different points in time it changes color and it's worth different points?
Or traffic cones. You could put traffic cones that guys had to get around.
I like
We
that.
do like
Yeah,
the thing that they
talking.
do in the All-Star game with the starry sponsored spot that's worth 4 points.
Yeah.
We just do that for the regular spot.
Me and my cousin George, we used to have dunk contests in our grandparents' backyard where we jump over things to dunk. So what if you jump over things to dunk and then it's worth more
Like a
points?
Kia.
Like it.
Yeah.
Like George.
Like
yeah.
a Kia. Very good. That's a good callback,
Rachel's
Jess.
pretty plugged in. I was actually curious if she's heard any good
Yeah.
solutions.
Same.
Or if the NBA itself kind of feels the pressure to actually do something.
No, because fans love scoring. I mean, we've seen this in football too, right? Where you can't touch the quarterback. Fans love scoring, and so fans eat this stuff up. And if it gets to the point where fans don't like how the game is going, they'll just change the rules, and they'll be like, "Oh, now we can bring hand checking back."
Well, this is what's happening
Hand
right now.
checking,
Is
wow.
I'm asking her about the Mavs and the Warriors, and you guys are extending the court and taking away all of their prime courtside seats that are worth a lot of money. And there's those are the last seats
Yes,
that are going to be
gonna
moved.
go.
I'm just trying to bring back the low post game. That's all
Exactly.
I'm trying
That's
to
all
do.
I want to do. Dan's like, all I want to do is talk basketball, and you with your nonsense.
Yeah. Stugotz doesn't have a terrible idea, though, if you're going to change it. I mean, it is a terrible idea, but make the 3s worth 2 and the 2s worth 3. You don't have to take away the courtside seats. You
Right,
can you can allow
Everything stays the same, except
Think about how many threes
Points.
you'd have then, though. 100%.
That's right. The closer you are, then what are free throws worth? The same? The closer you are to the basket.
I think you should have an option on free throws. You should be able to take it from the charity stripe, go a step back, it's worth 2, go to the 3-point line, it's worth 3. How about that? Huh?
You yell bank, it's worth 4.
Oh!
But in all this talk about changing the rules, the NBA is experimenting with the G League, and one of the crazy thoughts that they're coming up with is if you get fouled on a 3-point shot, you don't go to the free throw line and shoot 3 shots. You shoot 1 for the value of the shot that you attempted. So you get 1 free throw that's worth 2 points, 1 free throw that's worth 3 points, and that maybe speeds up the game a little bit too.
Interesting.
I don't know, man. I want that differentiation because when, say, you're in an overtime situation or something really crucial at the end of the game, how many free throws of the time allotted can he make? Oh, he only made 1. If he had made that second free throw, I don't know. I don't love that rule. I do think with Clay, not that you might want to get back to what you asked me. One of the things I loved that he said is that he said, I just needed a fresh start. I needed a change. And part of the reporting was, oh, he's going to go to the Lakers. His dad played for the Lakers. You know, he grew up, he still has a house in LA, all that stuff. And he was like, he thought the Lakers were too much like the Warriors. I didn't know what your take was on that.
Yeah, right.
What if you, instead of shooting 3 shots, you shoot until you miss if you get fouled on a 3?
Ooh, wow. Wow.
Steph set
I was going to say,
Larry Bird would never leave.
It's too bad Steph got hurt last night.
Why are you wasting this woman's time?
Dan, what's that in your hand?
That was very natural, Mike, but I'm excited about this. It is a coloring book meant to celebrate our 20-year anniversary. We've always prided ourselves around here on having a different artistic look, and I like some of the pictures here. There is Roy and Mike as Riggs and Lethal. What is it? Thank you.
Actually, we can't use them to sell this book, so don't say their names.
Okay, I bleep that all out. I also have a meme here falling in American.
Can't say that either.
Greg Cody is wearing a...
that you can say.
Okay, thank you.
Well, maybe.
Is that the LSU one or no?
Wait, what is he wearing?
He's wearing that Zar...
Can't say that.
Can't
Strike
say
that
either.
from the record.
Okay. There is Stugotz, his guy...
You cannot say his name.
That mayor of Flavortown, Dan. That book is so much thicker than Stugotz's book.
LeBatardAF.com. It's a lot of fun. I urge you to check it out.
Folks, you got one more day to lock in your place in DraftKings' Weekend Observations presented by Miller Lite Pool. Go to DraftKings.com/pools or open up your DraftKings app, and right near the top, they have a little toggle. Press pools right there, and you can see that pretty much by the time I finish saying this sentence, we'll have 20,000 entrants already in this competition. It's totally free to play. Make predictions based on tomorrow's edition of Weekend Observations with Stugotz. Guess how many times it gets interrupted. Guess how many beeps there will be. And if you have the most correct predictions, you have a shot to win a trip down here to Miami to observe a taping of our Le Batard Show and watch a Thursday Night Football game at a Flanagan. So hurry up and enter right now to potentially win.
I will reiterate to the audience that when we were doing these at ESPN, the prize was never this good. It was never this much time around the show, with the various members on the innards of the show. And Stugotz has delayed. He's postponed his Weekend Observations until tomorrow so that you have time to get involved with this contest. When Rachel Nichols left the room, Stugotz realized, I don't know how he realized this, where he realized it, but he just blurted to me, I've accomplished nothing in this business because of what her resume was comparatively.
Amazing, her resume. I mean, I have done nothing compared to her.
I was actually speaking with Stugotz in the eating area, and he's like, she looks a lot like the girl that hosted The Jump.
Stugotz had, though, in the middle of that, he handed me, and I didn't understand what was happening because I was too busy worrying about her headsets not being put in. He handed me his top 5 list of people in sports who connote currency, and I didn't understand that was in reference to Rachel Nichols. I was a bit confused as it was happening.
Rachel Alexander.
Yes, I was still thinking of her as Rachel Alexander.
Yeah.
That's correct.
It's actually top 5 people in sports and entertainment that connote a currency.
All right, before we get to
I
off-road...
paid my legal tender.
Thank you. Before we get to off-roading with Lucy, let's go ahead and do this. Do we have any OLI?
We have 3, yes, Dan.
All right.
Buck Showalter.
Sports and entertainment connote currency.
Yes. Don Money. What, Eddie? Eddie Money?
Eddie Money is what I would have gone there, yeah.
Kevin Cash. Number 5, Rachel Nichols. Number 4, Daniel Jones. Danny Dimes. Number 3, 50 Cent. It's pretty good. Number 2, Brad Penny. And number 1, Cameron Dollar.
Penny Hardaway.
Also good, Roy.
No Hunter Pence.
It's my list.
Okay.
Hunter Pence.
Yeah, Pence is money.
It is?
He's right.
Currency.
You ever been to the UK, Dano?
Yeah.
Didn't know. I'm just learning right now that pence is a form of money. First I'm hearing it.
John Stockton.
6 pence none the richer.
The $1 Million Man.
Kiss me.
John Stockton. Just because it's stock?
Yeah.
Come on. Stock isn't money.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds.
I mean, what are you doing?
Mary!
What are you doing? doing? Lucy, how did it go in Oxford? How magical was it?
It was really magical. It was the first time we ever went to a game, and I was like, I'd be okay if we didn't go to this game because I enjoyed the tailgate that much. Like, we were told going into this, I've been told my entire life that the Grove is just perfected tailgating beyond anything else. So I was like, it can't be that great. It was that great and more. Like, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
So you didn't want to go to the game. Is that the first time that's happened?
Yeah, that's the first time that has happened. And I also thought the game was going to be a blowout. That ended up not being the case. It was actually pretty competitive, but it was. And it wasn't just me who didn't want to go to the game. Like, it was the first time walking to a stadium where it was like, wow, there really aren't that many people going with us at the same time. Like, I can't imagine. I would guess there was 100,000 people there, and that stadium fits 60,000, like a little bit more than that. It's such a good tailgating setup that you, like, truly just don't want to leave.
I want very badly here to talk college football with you, Mike, and Jessica in a second. But first, let's check out the video that you made from Oxford. Were you anywhere near that brown lake that Lane Kiffin talks about? There's a brown lake of some sort that's not quite the water that he had in Boca.
No, but I saw his dog.
Okay, very good. Let's see what we've got here in terms of Lucy's off-roading.
How would y'all describe the Grove?
It is the best experience in the entire United States. There's nothing that compares to this. Not Mount Rushmore, no national landmark. Everything in the United States fails in comparison to the Grove at Ole Miss.
Hey Dan, it's me, Lucy, and we are here in Oxford, Mississippi for an Ole Miss Oklahoma game, and I could not care less about this game, like not even if I tried. However, we're not here for football. We're here for the Grove, the best tailgating in college football. How would you guys describe the Grove?
This is probably the greatest place on earth, if I'm being honest.
Best tailgating spot in the world. Does it like nobody beats it.
It's all family. This is about family.
You never experience anything like this. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The most fun you'll ever have in your entire life. Roll Rebs, baby.
What does hotty toddy mean?
Oh, I mean, it just means culture. It's family. We're all family. It all means one thing.
I mean, it's hot. And it is real, baby.
Woo! It is a welcome. It's a goodbye. It's a how you doing.
It means you're a rebel. It means you're a goddamn rebel, and we live for the rebels.
So gosh damn right.
Like, what does it translate to?
I have no idea. No idea.
So most of these tailgates are booked through a tailgating service. How many tailgates would you say you set up on a Ole Miss game day?
At least 800.
Oh my God. And at 7 p.m. the night before, they're all allowed in the Grove. So it's literally like a mad sort of like, you guys remember like Black Friday when everyone would wait outside the doors and rush in? That's what happens here every Friday night at 7 p.m. So it's literally like they're running in, claiming these spots, and then setting up their tailgates. And there are certain tailgates that are just normal, whatever. A lot of them are set up where they're like paying for a higher price for like a much nicer tailgate where they have chandeliers and couches and these full setups. I'm in shock because I've never seen anything like this at a college football game before. And it is so cool. It is so, so cool. Do you have like a weirdest request you've ever gotten for a tailgate?
We've done wedding receptions. Literally, they left the wedding and came to their tent, had the reception.
It's crazy.
We've had divorce parties.
What is the worst fan base that you all have ever dealt with?
LSU, I've never even been. I've just heard it's the worst. LSU sucks.
LSU.
You're an LSU.
Rouge. That awful city. I hate everything about it. LSU.
Hey, I'm from Louisiana.
LSU sucks.
Louisiana.
LSU.
I absolutely hate LSU. I hope they all die.
LSU fans suck.
Why are they so bad?
They're just total.
And what is it like to always see Lane Kiffin's name being floated around for other jobs?
Whoa. We're paying $10 million for him to be here. He's not leaving. He loves Ole Miss. He loves Oxford. He loves me.
So the question for you two, not you two, is it weird going to a game and seeing everyone wear the exact same outfit as you?
No, I like it.
Is it like a requirement? Do you have to wear the collared shirt and the light pants?
I woke him up this morning. I was like, what are you wearing to the game?
Oh my God, wait, so why are you cheering for Ole Miss if you're from Oklahoma?
We hate OU! Boo! Oklahoma State, Ole Miss! Woo!
You got to be respectful.
So,
unless it's an LSU fan. LSU fans.
I hate Baton Rouge.
You suck!
Those fans. Have a wonderful day, hotty toddy.
it ended up being a much better game than we expected, which I was really happy about. And my official analysis on this competitive SEC matchup is hotty toddy, gosh almighty, who the hell are we, riff ram, bim bam, Ole Miss by damn. I don't know. No one knows what it means.
You could get more Lucy on God Bless Football, which is out now, correct, Billy? You have gotten God Bless Football out now?
Yes.
All right. I am excited to talk about some college football. I have some stats to throw your way. Very quietly, Indiana is the first team to go 8-0 without ever trailing since 1998. So Indiana is running roughshod over everybody. They have not trailed all season long, and I've got this stat of the day for you guys. I think you guys are going to be shocked by what I'm about to tell you.
Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day.
Vanderbilt lost a close game against Texas at home this weekend. You guys want to guess what Vanderbilt's record is all-time against Texas?
I saw in the broadcast that Vanderbilt and Notre Dame are the only two teams with winning records over Texas in the last 100 years.
Vanderbilt's record against Texas is 8-4-1. They had not played before this weekend since 1928, though.
It's just starting to make sense now.
It makes a little sense, a little more sense. Back when Vanderbilt was ruling the earth in the 1920s in college football.
I have another stat for you while the music is playing, Dan. I sent this one to Stugotz earlier.
Have fun.
Notre Dame has scored more touchdowns this year in MetLife Stadium than the Jets and Giants combined.
All right, that is. I've got a couple of good things on that front.
They disrespected our troops. That's what they did.
They were treasonous behavior from Notre Dame, and just half of it, because they're going to do the same thing to Army, and they're going to knock both Army and Navy out of the playoffs. A stat like that I saw from Simon Clancy, this will not surprise Mike Ryan. It's not from college football, but going into the game yesterday, Van Ginkel not only had more touchdowns than any Dolphin offensive player, he also had more forced fumbles, sacks, and interceptions than any Dolphin defensive player.
Why didn't they bring him back? Wilkins and Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel's always around the ball.
He is.
It's weird. It is strange.
Well, they had to clearly save their money for this really hugely explosive offense with a quarterback that you can totally trust to finish his contract. They got to start selling, right? Capitulate on this season. And be sellers.
When you say selling, you mean Tyreek Hill, right?
They got to trade. They got to trade guys.
It's late for him, though, right? Like, where are we going to send him? Because the Bills got their guy, the Jets got their guy, the Chiefs got their receiver.
Steelers need a guy.
Tampa?
I'll take Waddle.
DeAndre Hopkins said in joining the Chiefs, this is my first meaningful football in a couple of years. Waddle had another couple of drops yesterday and doesn't look all that great. Is frustrating over the last months for a first-round pick. But let me get back to college football. Travis Hunter is solidifying a case, Stugotz, to be invited to the Heisman ceremony. We have not seen a lot of players like this. He played all 61 downs on defense. They beat Cincinnati. They are quietly a good deal better than they were last year, loudly. because Travis Hunter played all the plays on defense and on offense. He had 4 pass breakups on defense, and then on offense plays 61 or 68 of the 71 plays, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, and here, this backflip. My favorite part is the graphic that makes an appearance right after the backflip, Stugotz, which comes up a little short. He does Spider-Man 3-yard reception.
He's celebrating like that for that?
I mean, it is. He should celebrate. Colorado somehow quietly better than I thought they'd be when they were barely winning at home against Baylor.
They totally can take advantage of a better schedule inside a weird conference, and if they actually are in the conversation for a Big 12 title game, that means they're in the college football playoff conversation, because whoever wins that conference is going to get into the CFP. Absolutely, Travis Hunter, if he doesn't start having to worry about splitting votes with his teammate, because they have 2 supremely talented players. When they step onto a football field, you can pretty much assume they've got the 2 most talented players that are playing in that game. Travis Hunter absolutely should be headed to New York if they continue playing this way. They lost to Kansas State, and not a lot of shame in that. I saw that generally the national interest in Colorado has gone down a little bit. Their TV ratings aren't what they were, but now the conversation can start back up. Deion's got them bowl eligible. He's done a pretty good job this year, winning games straight up as a big underdog, although UCF can't win a game to save its life as a favorite, it would appear.
For sheer entertainment purposes, don't we want Colorado in the playoff?
Yes.
Right? Like, don't you want Deion and his son strolling into your stadium trying to take you out in the college football
Jess
playoff?
and Lucy making faces. They don't want Colorado in the playoff, it doesn't look like.
I want the best 12 teams in the playoff. If they win the Big 12, then yeah, like that would
I want
be
Army and
a great
Navy in the
spot.
playoff just to
Now you're
celebrate our
talking.
troops.
Yes.
You guys were making fun of that celebration for the 3-yard touchdown. So Travis Hunter and Kai Cenat have been doing a thing where they're planning the celebrations together. And that celebration was actually supposed to go differently. When he did the Spider-Man thing, he pulled back and someone was supposed to toss the ball to him as though the web had grabbed the ball. But they didn't finish the celebration there,
What?
unfortunately. Yeah.
I thought it was a cool celebration. I'm not knocking.
There was more to it,
He
yeah.
landed the backflip in a lunge. I mean, that's difficult.
Yes, it is. Kai Cenat, it's his world and we're all living in it. I don't know if you saw it the first Celtics game. He was with Adam Silver. He demanded that Adam Silver introduce him on his own phone as the first pick in the draft. Adam Silver said, which team would you like to go to? He said the Knicks. And after Adam Silver stumbled through it, he said, let's do it right. Let's do it a second time. Let's do it right. And Adam Silver just sat there and did it again for him, introduced him again, because evidently Kai Cenat owns the entirety of the internet.
Going back to Colorado and wanting them in the playoffs for a second. So Deion said before the rankings came out, don't put us in the top 25. Do you think he's going to stick to that when it comes playoff time? Like, don't put us in the playoffs. We don't want to be there.
Probably not. You're probably going to be able to really catch him in that inconsistency.
I'm not trying to catch him. I'm just asking you guys what you think.
I don't know, but I mean, America has a really important decision to make next Tuesday, and we'll find out what the committee thinks of Colorado when they make it.
Yes.
Oh, trade deadline, I thought.
Also
That
trade
too.
deadline. Yes, there's a lot going
day.
on. How do you guys feel? I want to play some clips here from College Game Day because I do believe that McAfee is helping Game Day make a bit of a resurgence here in the ratings in a way that's not disputable. Here he is just generally hand feeding again Nick Saban, showing that Nick Saban, he's doing the choo-choo train and he's just feeding Saban a slab of beef there, horrifying to every vegan and vegetarian in the audience. He's just doing, what is that? Is the choo-choo train? What is that called? You guys who have
Looks
kids.
like an airplane to me. Yeah.
Avioncito.
Yeah, coming in for the
Okay,
landing.
it's an airplane. Also, I think he's got now the most popular segment on Saturday morning, right, where people play for a great deal of cash to try and kick an extra point, and occasionally a person like this will just rupture either their Achilles or an ACL. That is just horrifying right there. That hurts to watch.
Yes.
Very unathletic. Are you guys... Jessica and Lucy got me into a little bit of trouble with McAfee and everybody over there because they were critical of game day last year in a way that got attached to me instead of you guys. Critical of McAfee. What do you guys shrugging your shoulders about?
Not your fault. Yeah.
I barely work here. I don't know what.
Last year,
McAfee said that I was talking shit about him because I was simply adding commentary to what you guys had said about College Game Day last year and how Fox was making inroads on the ratings game with College Game Day, trying to attack what has been, the second best sports studio show of our lifetime.
Is that talking shit?
You guys gonna apologize or what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're denying that they had anything to do with it.
Well, because I hear the take. That was one of my takes. No doubt. I don't think that's. I still watch both, and I find myself watching Big Noon more.
One of my best friends is on game day, so I doubt that I said anything bad about it. But I don't know, Dan. I mean,
you're best friends with Nick Saban?
Yes.
Wow.
Actually, Miss Terry, who has the best pick percentage of all the guest pickers so far this season, which they love to talk about. No, I mean, you're doing a weird thing where I don't know exactly what you're talking about, so I'm trying to what?
You're not supporting it at all.
I don't know.
You're not trying to do anything other than backing away from the comments.
Dan's trying to back away from the criticism that Pat McAfee had for him, which is a little unfounded and unfair in that Dan directly didn't diss College Game Day. He just applied pressure on other people on his show to do that for him.
Right.
So he can.
It happened last week with Billy. Billy, what was it that I sent you? Billy, I sent
what?
you.
Hold on a second.
You were gone. We had Reese Davis on. I was praising the show.
I think we have an accountability issue right now.
Okay, I'm going to look it up now. Okay, you guys always get me in trouble and then claim you didn't do anything to get me in trouble. I'll tell you. I'm going to find it.
I know what you're talking about.
Now you know. Now you know that I'm going to find it.
Yeah,
yes.
it's an awful announcing thing.
Dan Le Batard, LeBron, Bronny James moment felt manufactured. Did I say that? No, Billy said that.
You did actually say that. When I continued doing it, I was like, it did feel manufactured. You said, because it was manufactured. So they were your words as well.
But wait a second. In defense of Billy here and Jess and Lucy and everyone on this show, it is awful announcing's job to listen to the audio and determine who said what it is they're claiming you said.
It's also their job to get the most engagement possible.
It also seems to be their job to report daily on this show.
Stugotz,
now we're sounding like Pat McAfee here.
Stugotz still has me fearing running into Warren Sapp in public because he's been saying for 10 years that Warren Sapp has bad breath. Look at the smile on Roy's face. How I'm afraid.
You said it. I'm trying to confirm
I've never said it. I've only repeated you saying it. I've never said it.
Well, then that's saying it.
I think Game Day has pivoted more away from some of these really thoughtful, well-done pieces, even though they still attempt it. There's not enough zip on those passes as there once were, I think largely because of the producers and personnel that were attached to those. But they pivoted. My wife looks really forward to Pat McAfee's kicking challenge. I like the breakdown with Nick Saban. That's a new segment that they've done. So they're doing different things. That doesn't mean it's better or worse, but they are actually trying to do something different. Sometimes they maybe lean in a little bit too much to the fun of it, but having been to a College Game Day with Pat McAfee at the center of it, that dude is the Energizer Bunny, and he keeps those people in particular that are around that event having fun, keeping them engaged. He's a hype man for that show. He just so happens to be front-facing talent for it as well.
It's become a massive party, which I'm totally fine with. Like, less substance, more partying. I'm totally good with that. But you talk about McAfee and how he has helped that show, and he has. There is no question about it. So is Nick Saban. Nick Saban has been great. Not good, Dan. He has been great in breaking down games, breaking down coaches, what coaches do in certain situations, but he's also been fun. Like, Nick Saban has been fun, and it's been an enjoyable watch for me. I love it. I love the show.
But you guys are completely being dismissive of the show, saying there's less substance. I don't think that's the case. There's just fun going on at the same time.
I'm good with that.
For someone that sees on being for Dan exaggerating on certain things, I didn't say that what you alluded to there. I just don't think it's a different show. I like the thought-provoking, tear-jerking types of segments. They're doing a little less than that.
Well, Rinaldi left. Who's going to do it?
Well, they could.
He was better than anyone.
Well, then they had Wojciechowski, and he left, and and now Jen Latta's trying to do it. I'm just saying, there's segment producers that made that show a little bit different. I think last year they were trying to find their voice. I think now they know what works really well with Pat and get him with the people, get him engaged out there. So these are all producers that are all these judgments that I had against College Game Day were observations that I picked on last year. And I think that this year they're effectively moving into some of the people's strengths a little bit. It is a different show. I do find myself going to Big Noon a little bit more because I like the produced pieces and that they're producing. Some of those being produced by the people that were at College Game Day.
I'd rather have McAfee than David Pollack, like just in general vibe. Never mind everything else in terms of just having an electrical current around what it is that you're doing. Lucy, you're making faces at me?
I've liked that. I think I was very hesitant about McAfee originally. I think it's pretty well documented on the show, actually, so I admit that I have said things. The addition of Nick Saban, they kind of bring out the best in each other, I think, in a weird way, where, like, Pat McAfee is having some more serious conversations when Nick Saban is leading those. And, like, he absolutely, like as Matt Ryan has said, has found his sort of role as the hype man, which is what he's doing. Because Game Day, like, you now have all this competition. You have Big Noon. You have whatever Big Ten is doing. You have all these, like, SEC Network. You have to find a way to draw people to where you're going to be. Like, this weekend alone, I know that Big Noon and Game Day are both going to be at Penn State. How do you find sort of the balance of getting people to come to you versus another pregame show? But I think it also works in the reverse where, like, Nick Saban's such a serious guy, Pat McAfee can kind of make him ease up a little bit, wear a tie that he's uncomfortable with, eat food on camera. Like, they've all sort of kind of found their groove together. So I feel like this year has gone a lot better than last year.
I do think if there is one thing to criticize, I saw also on Awful announcing that Tony Hinchcliffe, who was the comedian that was at the Trump rally yesterday that made the comments about Puerto Rico being a floating pile of garbage, was on Game Day last week and made some like really inappropriate comments. And it just like kind of seems like no one cares, or like everyone just kind of moved on with their lives. So I think that kind of thing is a huge bummer, because if you want to lean into the party and the fun of like tailgating, I think there is a line that you can't cross into like total just like awful jokes and like just punching down, which I was super disappointed to see.
Hinchcliffe has developed a real following with Kill Tony, at least in part because he navigates this particular gutter well. And I will say again, as I did at the top of the show, Stugotz, I thought he and Nikki Glaser stole the Tom Brady roast. His confidence was obvious to everyone watching. I don't begrudge him his success, but to see him in these political times go out and do lazy racist tropes as comedy and then tell us that we don't have a sense of humor when in these times, I'm telling you, Stugotz, I can find the funny in racism if you do it clever and well. I can, if it's artful, not if it's Latin.
I like artful racism. Is a weird thing to say.
I'm just
trying to help you out. Like I would position it differently.
No, but I'm saying if it's the premise, not the point. Is there are ways to do this that just aren't tropes.
Is it usually at a Trump rally? I mean, what are you looking for? There's an art to a Trump rally that you're applying here. That stuff goes out the window.
He is going as a comedian, and what he was doing is furthering the Hinchcliffe brand by continuing to go further and further over what people view like is a line. We are drawing a line on what people can say and what they can't say, and weirdly, the Republican Party is now. This is not something that has ever been in my lifetime. The party of religion forbade things. Like the idea that the Democrats are now the ones that don't allow you to speak freely, so that this guy has a lane to be more controversial and third rail when all he's doing instead of comedy, in this particular instance, is tropes.
I don't understand where the Democrats are not letting Tony speak freely. I don't understand it. It's such a straw man. He goes in there with the agenda to make himself feel a little bit more dangerous. I'm pretty sure straw man. I'm pretty sure there's a clear and obvious grift here that developed over the pandemic where people realized they can move merch to the other side of the aisle too. And Democrats don't really cease watching you. You've just increased your base. What Tony's doing at that rally is trying to make money in some form or fashion, and spending this much time on it is giving him what he wants, which is a guy that found a second life. He was one of Joe Rogan's friends within stand-up comedian culture. He was kind of viewed as a hack, and he got hot, and he found this lane for him. Like a lot of stand-up comedians have kind of found a lane, poking at the left, looking for the warm embrace of the right. They all have a group chat laughing at everybody.
Speaking of a warm embrace, did you guys see the piece with Lee Corso coming back to Indiana? Did Coach feel great for Coach or what?
Yeah.
Reunited with the team, the first, and I think the first bowl win in Indiana history, and it was the reunion, and Lee Corso went back to a little restaurant. He met with the guys. Kirk Herbstreit came in from golf later in the episode. It was fantastic. That is journalism. That is College Game Day.
You know what I took away from the piece? 37-year-olds used to look like
65-year-olds.
You're right.
Kind of, yeah. I didn't want to say it like that, but
No,
like when
it's
you were
true.
37 back in like 1940, whatever he was,
yeah,
like, whew.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you see like an old graphic of quarterbacks in the NFL, and it's like this guy playing in his prime, and you're like, oh my God, his 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
He looks like
Yes.
a much older man. And then you look at Tom Brady, who
Right.
looks like he's been 25 for the last 15 years.
But just to see Lee get, emotional, and he cried, and those
Double-decker
players.
bus.
Oh, the double-decker bus.
Oh, Dan.
my
Did you
God.
see it? He had the sweater on. Wasn't the exact same sweater, but close enough. A little snug, but close enough.
Yeah.
I am going to find you a photo of a 45-year-old Sparky Anderson, and I'm going to put it on the screen
impossible.
right now
No,
for you.
no.
And this is about
That's
the
not
age.
45.
That's not 45, dude.
It is not 45.
That is not
It might be 50. It's not much more than that. I'm not kidding you. I am not joking when I say that's either Sparky Anderson at 45 or 50 years old. I'm not making that up. That is not a made-up thing. You guys keep shaking
Back
your
when
head.
houses cost 15 pence.
No. In this picture, he's 51 years old, Lewis is telling me. He's 51. I asked Lewis to find for us a photo of Sparky Anderson at 45 to 50 years old, and he came up with something of Sparky Anderson at 51. I'm not making that up. By the way, Tim Walls is going to join us tomorrow during the show. This is not an echo chamber. That's going to be tomorrow on the show.
Talk some football, or
yeah, we'll talk some football. Minnesota State Championship. We will talk with him. I have not gotten yet to the University of Miami now being a top 5 team. I have not gotten to Mario Cristobal slamming a table in a way that fired Mike Ryan up. And I've not gotten to Cam Ward and Mario Cristobal both trying to manufacture a Heisman moment and make fun of FSU. Up 16, 4 minutes left. They are throwing the football to their quarterback so that Cam Ward can score a touchdown. And here is Mario Cristobal exciting Mike Ryan because the Hurricanes are in the top 5 and they're undefeated after beating FSU by 22 points.
All recruits, in-state, out-of-state, can now clearly see the trajectory of this program versus the trajectory of the other programs.
Wow.
Man, emphasis.
Yeah, solid.
Look at how happy Mike is back there.
I've got nothing to add.
It was efficient. It wasn't a pounding of the table. It was an efficient, fist on the table. It was
Period
great.
at the end of the sentence.
Yep.
You want to guess how old Sparky Anderson is in this photo right here? Lucy, take a guess how old Sparky Anderson is in this photo right here.
17.
He's 35 years old in
What?
this photo. 35.
Pretty close.
Life was hard back then.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
What was your guys' favorite moment from the college football weekend? Because I
Coach
have
Corso.
I have one. All right, yours is Corso in a sweater, nostalgically.
Notre Dame beating Navy by 37 points.
Oh, treasonous!
Terrible.
Section 336 at the Texas A&M game.
The SMU Duke game.
Oh my God, what
amazing.
a finish!
Yeah.
Oh, wait, do we have
actually, wait,
consensus?
Can I go back? Kyle McCord threw 3 pick sixes in 1/2 against Pitt.
He did.
I've got a couple of nominees for you guys. I've got a thick 6 in the North Carolina game against Virginia. I believe we had Virginia, and I believe we bet Virginia as a show as part of Tony's picks. Here is a thick 6, Stugotz, that goes 85 yards. This is not my nominee. I was confused by this because I'm not used to a thick player wearing the number 5. This was confusing to me. I don't know what position he's playing as a number 5 here. Let's look at a thick guy shouldn't be here. Go ahead and play this.
Landry fakes a handoff. And it's intercepted, tipped, and then caught by Ripsey. And a big fella Wallace still rumbling, stumbling, bumbling. He's
It's a good block at the end.
If he can catch his breath, that is a touchdown. Can you believe that? A tip, a pick, and Javari Ritzy
Is that a defensive tackle?
with a touchdown.
One thing's for sure, that is Tom Brenneman.
Number 5. Is that the resurrection of Tom Brenneman's career?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Brenneman is back
That
from the
was Brenneman. He
Castellanos
is back.
moment.
Folks, I got to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
CW,
I don't know
yeah.
if I'm going to be able to speak into this microphone ever again. Well, guess what you did on the CW.
I'm told by Lewis that's a defensive end. My favorite moment of the weekend, though, comes from the Texas Tech game where a field goal kicker on a fake field goal scores a touchdown and pulls up his shirt to reveal Trump MAGA 2024. Texas Tech lost by 1 point. He missed his only field goal of the game. So that was...
But he got the message out there.
We
right?
showed them.
Yes.